Okay, hello everyone. So basically what's happened is I've just been streaming to myself for the last 7 minutes. Because I've never scheduled a stream before. Oh, I was doing so well as well. Right, okay, I'm just going to quickly go over everything that I've just mentioned again. Right, I've learnt that now. You actually have to press the start stream in the top corner. Um, so there we go. That's great information for myself. Why am I getting playback? That's not good. Here we go. Okay, this has all gone catastrophically wrong basically, but we are now live. Um, right, that's gone really well. That's gone really well. Hello. I did all the greetings in the chat a minute ago. But yes, we are now actually live, and we're actually gonna be talking about it. So. Oh god, I've got to restart this whole thing. Hello, Soham, hello F1 guy, and hello Desislava again. I hope you're all having a brilliant week so far. So we're into the midweek. I'm going to have to quickly start talking about everything I've just been discussing again. Because okay, right, the more I learn, the more I learn. So we're now live. Hi mate, hello Alvin, hope you're doing all good. I hope you're all enjoying your week and having a good time. I went live 2 minutes early as well. I thought, yeah, I'll go live a little bit earlier and get some chat, like have a bit of a chat with the people in the chat. But no, that's not happened. So anyway, we have the we have all the streams. So we're going to start off, I think, with probably one of the most important bits for championship implications is the possibility of a Verstappen penalty. The question's going to be is... actually, I'll bring it up on the stream now. Here we go. I've done all this so many times to take... Right, we're back again. I just had to do a little bit of a practice take, apparently, before. So yeah. First of all, we have the Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 team Twitter account on Christian Horner's birthday of all days. The onboard footage from Max Verstappen comes out, which... I'm going to be honest, it is definitely new and valid evidence because it's very clear he does not put in enough effort to make the apex of the corner and definitely deliberately pushes Hamilton wide. My opinion of it is he's gone in way too hot with the intention to push Hamilton wide, but I think he wanted to stay on the track as well because once it looks like he's just sliding off the track, he puts in one hell of a lot of steering angle. So, I think, yeah. Hamilton Max winning Qatar, we will get onto that. Trust me, we will get onto that. That's what I've just been discussing to myself for the last 5 minutes. So I'll do my first couple of minutes again, then we'll get into that. So here we go. We have that Qatar. Here we go. This is useful for my rehearsal. I know Qatar is 3 hours ahead of the UK because it's currently 9 o'clock there at the moment. It's 6 o'clock here. So we know that instead of it being 5 o'clock local time tomorrow, the Mercedes right to review hearing, it is going to be at 2 o'clock UK time tomorrow, which I'm busy through, so I can't stream that even if I wanted to. But I'm fairly sure the right to review hearing is more just discussing whether or not an investigation is warranted, whether or not there's enough evidence to reinvestigate it, or actually in this case investigate it in the first place. So what does everyone think? I think Max should be penalised. I think that's pretty fair. I've seen a lot of Max fans as well now saying that it's probably fairest that he gets penalised just by watching the onboard footage back. I think that's a pretty fair call as well. So if we look, here we go. So now we're going to start talking about Qatar. And why I think this potentially isn't the most important news in F1. It's not got the most massive implications you could imagine. So, currently they're separated by 14 points, Hamilton and Verstappen, and I think it's a fair assumption to say as long as neither of them are crashed out or crash into each other or, collide with anyone at any point, they're going to be first and second in the remaining races because they have such a big advantage over their, quote, number 2 drivers in the form of their teammates, that realistically it's going to be them first and second both times. So what that means for the championship is, as they're separated by 14 points at the moment, let's say we've seen the footage from Saudi Arabia on the Formula 1 game. It is a fast track. There are barely any slow corners at all. That track should favour Mercedes fairly comfortably, but I still imagine Verstappen can sneak in there with a P2. Because when I say advantage, I don't mean they're going to be dominant. They're just going to do quite well. Red Bull can strap on a low downforce setup and be pretty damn competitive as well. So... that would be interesting. And also the pace difference in Brazil was exacerbated by Red Bull running quite high downforce because we saw Pierre Gasly was actually the highest in the speed trap. And they've, of course, got the same engine. So we know that Honda engine can do it. Hey, how's it going? Hello, Kaiser Bob. Hope you're doing well. It's possible for you that Merck win the constructors, but Max win the driver. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think Perez v Bottas is going to be the deciding factor, basically, in the constructors championship, for sure. But if we look around, so yeah, the championship implications maths-wise, they're on 14 points now. Let's assume it's a safe Hamilton win at Saudi, or relatively. He's going to narrow that gap down to 7 points. Let's say Saudi's already happened. Just for a second, let's imagine it's already happened. Hamilton first, Verstappen second. That's the most likely outcome for me. They're now separated by 7 points coming into Qatar, which is the race this weekend. Now, if Max wins in Qatar, that gap is up to 14 points, which Hamilton will simply not overturn in the weekend in Abu Dhabi. So for me, as I put in the title, Qatar is somewhat a championship decider, or maybe not a championship decider, but a decider of whether or not we will get a championship decider. I know that sounds quite confusing, but there is some method to it with the maths at the moment. So the 3-point penalty for Max, it's not going to advantage Hamilton, so that makes it nice and easy. We're going to have either coming into the last race, if Lewis wins Qatar, Max will be 3 points behind him or 4 points ahead of him, which means we're in the exact same situation as if they were separated by 0 points, basically. So it doesn't make a massive difference overall. I think really for the constructors, it's a bigger impact there, because it could easily go down to only 3 points. That's where it's much more important. We feel there should be no further penalty for Max if they penalise him for this, and FIA will open Pandora's box on past verdicts. Yeah, I mean that is true, but equally we've seen precedent in the past for teams, or for drives who have pushed people wide, and it's been a slam dunk penalty. And the thing is, it's new evidence now. They can't use a decision as new evidence, so it doesn't really open up any possibility for old ones to be overturned. It's simply just because there's new evidence coming out, that's all. Because if Ham win the next 2 races, Max can win at Abu Dhabi easily. Yeah, he still can, you know. I'm in the boat where I want it to be as dramatic as possible, so I'm sort of rooting for Hamilton in the next 2 races. I don't care who wins the championship, I just want them to go into the last race even on points, because that would be absolutely brilliant to watch. I hope it just goes down to last lap, and then whichever one wins it, good on them, basically. So we look here, we've got the circuit map. I have already sort of gone through this. So we have, this is just a document showing the circuit map. It's all we've got up from this weekend so far. But the thing that we didn't know before, let me quickly head back to my other screen that I had before, this one. Until very recently, we didn't know where the DRS activation and, or DRS detection and activation points were going to be. And thought maybe there could be one on the exit of turn 3 and the run up to turn 4, just a really short one. But that's not the case as we head back now here. Here we go. See, I'm getting the hang of this. We have the DRS detection point is right down here in the bottom right, just before turn 16 at the end of the lap. And then the DRS activation is actually quite soon after the exit of turn 16 and all the way down this pretty hefty straight. So I think realistically all the moves are going to happen in this portion of the track in the run up to turn 4, turn 5, and maybe at turn 6 if they're still side by side somewhere. But I can't see any moves through 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, maybe into 16. If you get it done under braking just after the DRS detection point, then maybe, and they might be able to hold off using DRS down the main straight. So that's pretty interesting. Agree. Last race must be the title decider. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm not fussed who wins it, to be honest. I just want it to go down to the last race. I want the drama. But yeah, so there's that much at least talk about the Qatar track. The issue for me with this though, why I don't think this is going to be a brilliant race, and why qualifying is actually incredibly important here. If you disregard the undercut in the race, I think qualifying is the most important thing overall. It's because turns 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 are all quick corners. And that is where, with these regulations, I say every stream, don't get me started on these regulations. That's where they fail quite dramatically. So I think really you're going to really struggle to get to the DRS detection point still a second behind. I think most drivers are going to be hovering around the 9 to 8 tenths mark by the time they actually get to the DRS detection point. which could make overtaking quite a bit of a challenge. Good evening, everyone. Hello, James. Hope you're having a good week so far. Looks like a lot of hairpins. It absolutely is. Turn 4 to turn 15 is Red Bull zone. Yes, it is. Turn 4 to turn 15 absolutely is. And that's where it gets interesting. We've got some slow corners and we've got some quick corners. Red Bull should be pretty confident there. But we have the long straight as well. Basically, the question is the 2 tenths, 3 tenths that Mercedes are likely to gain down this straight, is that going to be enough to counteract how much time Red Bull are going to gain through the corners? And that's where we've got a little bit of a trade-off at the moment. Could we see Mercedes sort of neglect a little bit of their straight line speed? Because they have that advantage. They know they have the advantage, assuming Red Bull also go high wing. So do they go for a slightly higher downforce so they're a bit more even across the course of a lap? And maybe in qualifying it just comes down to whichever driver is able to do a better lap. And 16-4 Hamilton will dominate. Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be interesting. Sector 1 is absolutely Mercedes territory. Then Sector 2, you're looking at very much Red Bull, a bit like we saw in Brazil, actually. And then Sector 3, I think, will be pretty even because you have got quite a bit of a straight, but you've also got some fast corners as well. So I think that'll be quite even overall. Sector 3 should be pretty close. Sector 2 should be Red Bull dominant, and Sector 1 should be Mercedes dominant. By how much and how many tenths, we'll have to wait till the cars are at full blast to find that out. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything sort of important about the track. I'm interested about turns 12, 13, and 14. I want to see how they sort of play out because that could be a really quick corner. That could be quite fun to watch actually. Look at Hamilton is going to win this one as well. Sadly, well, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be particularly far apart at all. Max is able to defend 1 DRS at Brazil. He can defend 1 more over 2 DRS. Mercedes were gaining in the majority of top speed in Brazil through the new engine and running it turned up to 100%. Yeah, exactly. You see, I think Mercedes is going to be running very high on the engine and just basically taking the risk for the rest of the season. They're happy to take that risk because they know they're behind anyway. They're chasing. They need the speed. So any advantage they can get, it means we could see a Malaysia 2016 example where we've got oh no and cut to a flaming engine in a Mercedes, but I don't think, obviously they wouldn't be happy if that happened, but it's better than if you're leading the championship for sure. Is undercut powerful here? It should be. Undercut's powerful everywhere, but we've got some really quick corners, so I think undercut realistically at the first stop, assuming they start on mediums, because this could be a fairly high deck track actually. It's not going to be too hot, but we've got some really quick corners where you're really leaning on the tyres and some pretty heavy braking zones as well. A bit like Bahrain, really. It's sort of going to be medium. It's not on the lower end of tyre deg, at least. So I think it'll be pretty powerful, the undercut here. That's what I mean. Apart from qualifying, the undercut should be one of the more important things in the race, because it's not going to be easy to overtake. It's not going to be easy at all to overtake. So if you are undercut, I suggest just going an extra 6, 7, 8 laps just to make sure you have the grip advantage when you're chasing the car that you're trying to overtake through the corners. That's what you need. You need that front-end advantage just to sort of counteract the deficit you've got from the dirty air. And of course, you've got the long run, and that's where you've got to try to make your move. So what's got? Oh god, chat's filling up. So we've got temperature and tyre degradation plays an important role. It absolutely will here. What are we looking at? McLaren had engine power. If Merc decide to go full on their engine, they might get DNF. Yeah, potentially. I think this and Saudi and McLaren's last chances to get a moderately decent result. But this could easily be a pretty decent race for Ferrari as well, because we've got some pretty good traction limited corners and they seem really strong on that since the upgrades. Tyres will take a beating, especially left front. Yeah, it will, because of course it's a clockwise track and there's a lot of fast corners here. Will Max's old engine make the Red Bull slower? Yes, but not as much as the Mercedes degrades. So we're going to see the delta on the straights decrease and decrease and decrease as the season goes on in the last couple of races. If Max wins one of the next 3 races, he can afford to finish second in the F2 and still get the... Yes, exactly. That's sort of maths we were going over earlier. So that's why I've sort of put... This is sort of the title decider. And if not, let's say title decider, the decider of whether we get a title decider, if that makes any sense at all. I understand what I'm saying. Whether anyone else could ever follow on with that is a completely different question. So yeah, that sort of covers that. So we'll head back to the main bit. Turns 1, 4, 5, 7, 9, 12, 30, 40, 50, 16. Lean heavy on front left. Yeah, they absolutely do. They're really quick right-hand corners, and it's going to be they're going to take a little bit of a beating, definitely. So right, let's quickly head back over here. There we go. So of course we've got the schedule for UK time in the top right as well. We've got a little bit of the track map and some results. And now basically we're going to discuss quickly something that I saw requested in the chat earlier on, actually, was some discussion about Russell, how he's going to perform at Merc. I stand by what I've sort of said in previous streams, saying that it's very likely that Russell might be able to out-qualify Hamilton over the course of the season. Like, I'm talking like 12-11 or something. It's going to be pretty even. But I think over the course of an actual season, in races and point scoring, Lewis just about has a check on him, at least next year. And then I can't see Lewis really going another year past next year unless it's a really close title fight and he does fancy his chances in 2023. Jesus. Okay, we're getting old. Right. If you could read in chat. I think Ferrari looks set for third going on form. Yeah, absolutely. I think Ferrari have basically got third place in the constructors sealed at the moment. My heart is already racing fast after discussing all this. Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. This is what we've needed in F1 for a while, and I can't imagine how stressed how much my heart's going to be beating in the last race if they're even on points coming in. That's why I want, I over the course of the season, whoever becomes champion, I'm completely unbiased. I just want it to be dramatic. So I'm all in Camp Hamilton for the next race or two, just to make sure that they're even on points coming into the last race and we get the most dramatic end to the season possible. So what we're seeing, Ferrari beat McLaren in constructors. Yep, I think they will. F1 Chiefs admit work on Jeddah circuit will go down to the right. Yeah, I saw that quote. I think they'll just about have it. I think they're sort of confident that they can have at least the key infrastructure in place. We might have a situation where people who've got tickets won't be able to sit in the grandstands and things like that, but they're going to prioritise just the essential infrastructure for an F1 race now, and they should be able to get that done in the time they have. If Saudi GP is cancelled, then Max will have a one-handle title. Yeah, he will. We need these 3 races. I don't think Russell will out-qualify Hamilton. Bottas out-qualified Russell when both were in Mercs. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, no, that is a good point. But you have to bear in mind as well, Russell wasn't used to that car. Bottas has had a whole season in it. So, it twists and turns a bit. And you can assume Russell's developed a bit as a driver, at least in the past year. So, it'll be interesting. It's going to be a really interesting it could be a title fight between them. I don't know. It'll be a really interesting teammate fight, though, definitely. I'm fully on a Verstappen bandwagon. Fair enough, absolutely. I just want to go down to the last race. That's literally all I'm fussed about this year. So, other news we had is Antonio Giovinazzi going to the Dragon team in Formula E, and he is being replaced, as we mentioned on previous streams. We get the news first here, before it was announced. That Guan Yu Zhou is going to Alfa Romeo. So we've got a situation with Bottas and Zhou at Alfa Romeo next year, and to be honest, considering Guan Yu Zhou got beaten by Nikita Mazepin in F2 last year, I don't have particularly high hopes for the driver. But if he does well, all fairness to him, sort of respect in that sense. If the Jeddah track is new, that means cars would slide more. Yeah, it depends what sort of great actual tarmac they put down though. So, because sometimes when you resurface it, the grip can be absolutely monumental. I think Zhu will do well. Yeah, he absolutely can. He absolutely can. His Gucci collection was all right. Yeah, I saw that interview that they did with him. that was good. I hope Alfa Romeo so well next year. I hope they do well next year. I do. I think they're a team due some good results. Definitely, I'd like to see it. But yes, so look forward. We'll quickly have, because I know more people have joined again. Sort of a quick rundown of what's going on with the Verstappen penalty situation, because that's pretty interesting. But also why it doesn't have massive championship implications. So there's what Mercedes put out. I assume most people have seen that by now. I'll just give everyone a chance to read it for a sec while I ramble on. But yeah, I think mathematically this isn't too important on a drivers' championship, but it definitely is. It definitely is in the constructors' championship because that could very easily go down to 3 points with the races we have left. When do you know if there's a penalty or not? And that's what I'm leading on to with the next tweet. There we go. It's a perfect segue from the chat. Mercedes' right to a review hearing for the Turn 4 decision in Brazil will happen at 5 o'clock local time tomorrow, which is 2 o'clock UK time. Now, I would absolutely love to be covering that live. Unfortunately, I have got lectures, so I will not be able to cover that. But I will cover any outcome. Also, I don't think we'll get a decision here. We'll get a decision on whether the appeal is successful, so whether or not it should be investigated. Because they're not appealing a decision, they're appealing the fact that it wasn't investigated. So they'll overturn the idea that no further action is required, and then they'll investigate it. So you never know, it could come out a little bit later on in Qatar. We'll have to sort of see how that one goes. Should have a second in F2, he's absolutely good enough for Oh yeah, he's good enough for F1, I think, definitely. When do you have to it's a good move for AlphaTauri, but not for I cannot read that. Verstappen won't be penalised. I don't know. I think he probably will, because the onboard footage is fairly damning, to be honest. What do I study? I do automotive engineering with motorsport, so that's exciting. Do you think that with Mercedes' current, I assume you were halfway through typing that and then clicked enter. That is a major mood. So, right. No, okay, so we got that. I'm going to sort of leave it on the track map, actually, because that's quite interesting, because it's going to be really fun, this race. I think it could be fairly even. Sector 1 should be Mercedes territory. Sector 2 should be firm Red Bull. And Sector 3, I think, will be fairly even. Because Mercedes aren't poor through fast speed corners. It's more low speed corners that they tend to struggle. So yeah, that could be quite interesting, because it's not really a slow corner there. I think turns 12, 13, 14 could actually be really quick. That could be pretty exciting. This channel's highly underrated. You deserve more subs. Oh, thank you, Hainan Chicken Rice. Thank you. They could plus 5 seconds to Max's final race time in Brazil, and that changes nothing. It would put Bottas ahead of him, but championship implication wise, it doesn't really change a lot, because we're just going to assume that Hamilton and Verstappen come first and second in the next races. I don't think there's a lot of doubt in that. Do you think with Mercedes' current engine, if it stays as good as it was in Brazil, do you think Red Bull stand a chance? To be honest, yes, because Red Bull... I think something that's really important to mention is all of that Mercedes straight line speed did not come from the engine. They were running lower wing. That's why they struggled quite a lot in Sector 2. Because they were set up to overtake, because they knew they had that 5-place grid drop. They set up that car to be able to follow and overtake fairly comfortably. And that's what they were able to do. Obviously, the fresh engine helps. It absolutely does help. But they were set up differently to maybe how they would have gone about it on a normal weekend. And you have to bear in mind as well, Pierre Gasly was top of the speed trap during the race. So, you know, that Honda engine absolutely has pace. And, like the stream guys. Oh, yeah. I love it when I read the chat where they say like the stream guys. I'm just indirectly plugging myself on accident. But yeah, go for it if you want to like it. I do like seeing that little number go up. It does make me happy. I feel Mercedes might have a dodgy weekend. Potentially. I think all the teams are sort of due one. It's been running a little bit smoothly for the front runners the last few races, because we're right in the crux of the end of the season now. They're not taking as many risks. Personally, I hope it's 5-place, not 5-second penalty. Yeah, exactly. We could see a 5-place grid drop applied for Qatar. And that would be very interesting. I don't think they'll do that. I think it's most likely to be a 5-second time penalty in the race, which would only drop him to P3 in Brazil. If they do a grid penalty, I think that's a bit unfair, because it didn't retire any of the cars. So I think, I wouldn't think that's particularly fair if they did that. I think it comes down to principle of Mercedes. Toto said in an interview after diplomacy is off. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, they're fighting for a title here. This is like potentially hundreds of millions of dollars that they're fighting over because of the marketing that you get from being the champion. We're talking a lot of money. So, you know, at the end of the day, if you can find a technicality or you know, you're going to absolutely throw the book at it here. You need to get the win. I think it. Yeah, I've read that one. Do you think Verstappen will change his engine in Qatar? He can't finish the season with the same engine. It will blow up. 2021 engines can't withstand 8 races. Well, Honda are pretty confident that theirs can. And Helmut Marko himself said that it wasn't the best idea to change the engine because they're not going to get as much of an advantage that Mercedes get from it. 5-place grid drop is not justified. No, I'd be very surprised if they did that. There's no real precedent for doing that. Personally, I feel the whole Lewis and Verstappen incident has been dragged out heavily now. Lewis still won and no contact was made. Genuinely feel it was a case of late braking and a mistake. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I from watching the video, having done some racing myself, not to a ridiculously high level, nowhere near even like high level karting, but just like you know, doing some driver coaching with people and some racing myself. I think what happened is he went in with the mindset of I'm going to push Lewis off the track, but stay on the track myself. And I think when he got to the stage where he realised, oh no, I'm going to understeer off the track now, he went full lock on the steering wheel pretty much. So I think in his mind, he meant to stay on the track, but didn't. But then again, we've seen, you know, drivers punished for making those sort of mistakes before, so I wouldn't be surprised at all. Not saying Max didn't make his car as big as possible, but I feel with the onboard footage shows his wheel turning away from Lewis in entire time. Yes, that's where he was really clever, actually. He never made a direct movement to Lewis, because that would have been a very heavy penalty if he did that. If he made a movement with his steering wheel to the right, he would have got a very big penalty. He just put in nowhere near enough steering lock to make the corner. In any world, there was nowhere near enough. Daniel Ricciardo is the only driver to win for 2 different teams in hybrid era. Quick fact. I do like that fact. I do like that one. Charles got black and white flag. TFO gets Hamilton. Yeah, no, fair enough. What am I looking at? But yeah, he did get black and white flag. So again, that's a potential penalty as well. Or not potential penalty, a potential outcome for all of these decisions. Just let them race. Yeah, I think that's I do like that mindset, but I think it's. To go that far off the track is a dangerous precedent set. If it was just a little bit of a push, I think I wouldn't be too fussed with it. And I would have that mindset, but like they were miles off the track, so I think it should be a penalty probably, on balance. It's about consistency and the lack of it. Yeah, absolutely. You know, we keep seeing drivers punished. Actually, recently this season, a lot more harshly for pushing people off the track. So. I think it's going to be a 5-second penalty. I can't see it really being anything else. I'd be very surprised if it's a grid penalty. Really surprised. It's going to be a penalty and should have been in the race. Yeah, I'm in the same mindset to us. I think I tweeted immediately after. I'm like, that should be a slam dunk penalty. And then they said they wouldn't even investigate it. That's what really surprised me, is that they weren't even going to investigate it. When it could have, if Hamilton didn't get past, that would have been the championship deciding moment, really. So that really did surprise me. Very much so. What we're seeing here. Why can't Max weave when he is so far ahead of Lewis? I thought you can have brakes next year. No, you're not allowed to weave on the straight to break the slipstream. You can't make 2 defensive movements on a straight because the slipstream's ultimately incredibly powerful and how most cars actually are able to overtake. So if you cut that off, it's sort of illegally and quite dangerously defending your position, really. It's just finally so good to see 2 Red Bull cars actually putting up a fight against 2 Mercedes. With Red Bull's luck with secondary drives, it's going to see Bottas and Perez tussling. Great racing. Yeah, and I think, you know, I said a little bit earlier, I don't know if that was when I was streaming to myself or not for 10 minutes because I absolutely messed up how scheduled streams work. But yeah, that could very easily be a situation where whoever comes out best between Bottas and Perez could actually decide the constructors. Ericsson weaved against Charles at Spa. He saved that. He managed to save that somehow. Yes, yeah, that was mental. I don't know how that wasn't an airplane crash. So. Right, we've got all this open. So we go. There's no new documents or anything. I don't know if they haven't put anything out saying any dates or times. So this is all we have at the moment. 2:00 UK time or 5:00 local time in Qatar is when Mercedes' right to review hearing for the Turn 4 decision in Brazil will happen. So that'll be interesting. Like I said, I'd like to cover it, but unfortunately I'm not there. And I really don't think we'll get a decision maybe on that day. I think it would probably be the next day we get any form of decision. I'd love for Bahrain Outer to return. Yeah, that'd be really cool. I'd like to see that again. I did enjoy that. In my opinion, if they really want to give a penalty, it's going to be a small grid penalty, not a typo. I don't know. I feel like because it happened in the race and no one retired, if they crash each other out, then it was 100% be a grid penalty that's being applied. But because none of them retired, I think it will just be a simple time penalty in the race. And Max will be hoping that because it's not going to be easy to overtake at Qatar. I really like Max. However, his maturity was shown early in the season, is lacking here towards the end. If he wants to be an all-time great, he's got to. Yeah, it was surprising to see as well. He fell for the dummy the same dummy 3 times. When I thought it was fairly clear that Lewis wasn't actually going to make the move. So I think he was actually a little bit spooked by that Mercedes pace. Maybe sort of getting inside his mind that wow, that car's really quick. Sort of fearing a lunge at any moment. But that's a right to review, no, not an appeal. So FIA can just say, oh yeah, of course FIA can just say no. Yeah, absolutely, because this is the right to a review. So if they say no, you can't appeal it, you can't review it, then obviously that's the end of it. But if they say yes, then an investigation will start. So that's what the decision is tomorrow. FIA won't deny the crest. No, I think the new evidence is fairly clear that Max just did not turn enough for the corner, and you can compare it to previous laps, and he's at about half the steering angle that he was on the other laps. So, and while taking a tighter line as well. They could just come to the conclusion, no further action. Yeah, of course they could. Yeah, they could investigate it again and still say no further action. You know, this appeal is whether or not an investigation is going to happen. That investigation can then result in either a grid drop, 5-second time penalty, or no further action. That's the 3 options for me, and I think the 5-second penalty is by far the most likely. I put nothing past the FIA, lol. Absolutely. I mean, at this point, we could see any decision. I think Qatar will be more interesting. We think. I do hope so. Looking at the track map, I can't see it being a great race. It doesn't have the characteristics that tend to allow Bahrain to be quite good. It's got more fast speed corners. It's just going to make it really hard to follow. It could be an okay race. It's going to be better than the likes of Monaco and those sorts of races that we've had this season. But it's not going to be anything too special, I don't think. I don't think, at least. Fingers crossed I'm wrong. I'll very happily be wrong in this one. Telemetry and onboard were not reviewed, and it'd be a serious lack of enforcement to ignore that. Yeah, that's what sort of stuff I don't think they really had available to them too much the first time round, so that's what they'll be looking at here. Do you think the performance of the Red Bull will be similar to that of Bahrain? The first part of Losail looks like Bahrain. Yeah, it does. It's very similar in that sense. It is a bit of a like B-Tech Bahrain to an extent. It's basically just a poor copy of Bahrain. Even Sector 2 is sort of to an extent, once we climb up the hill and get hit, even we've got some fast S's as we approach down this part. It's quite similar. Quite a lot of it's quite similar. It's just basically a quicker Bahrain. Yeah, that I think that's the best way to sum it up, really. It's just a faster Bahrain. Which, I don't know if that's going to help the racing. I doubt it. Turbo 4 looks like Bahrain, kind of. It does. It just looks like a more stretched out version of turns 2 and 3 that we actually see at Bahrain. So it's the same sort of turn 1. And actually, I saw when they were setting up the cameras, there was a photo from where all the infrastructure is set up, looking down the main straight, and I thought for a split second that it was Bahrain because it was under the floodlights as well, and it looked the same. And then it sort of clicked in my mind. I was like, wait, why is there a picture of Bahrain? Oh, yeah. So yeah, I sort of figured that one out. Oh, my top 5 prediction. Okay, that's interesting. I'm going to go most likely here. I think Ferrari are going to have a pretty good race. So I'm going to say, for the sake of the championship, Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas, Perez, Sainz. I'm going to say Sainz. I feel if they chose to ignore and it happens again with another team, teams can use the rule as excuse. Yeah, absolutely. It's more the precedent that it sets. It's a dangerous precedent set that drivers can just force each other off track and go flying off with it, really. I think that's the main issue. More straights means Mercedes have an edge here. Yeah, but those straights that you can see there, they're not particularly long. It's only really the main straight that's a reasonable length. It's not one of the longest tracks in the world. I think it's 57 laps, I'm fairly sure. It might say up here, maybe. No, it does not say up here. I'm fairly sure it's about 57 laps or so. So yeah, I mean, you've got some straights, but then you've got fast corners. I feel like that's just gonna, any chance of an overtake really is gonna be lost, probably through this section actually, especially through like sector 2. Like I said before, I think we could see DRS. By the time they get to DRS detection, it's most likely to be an 8 or 9 tenth gap. So we've really got to hope that straight's long enough. Otherwise, we might not see too many moves. What are we seeing? Momentum is in Mercedes' corner going into these last races, and Red Bull seems stuck in trying to cry out Merc pace instead of focusing on winning on merit. I wish for Max he had better leadership. At the end of the day, Red Bull, they're trying to, find any excuse to effectively disqualify Mercedes from the championship, and why wouldn't you? Again, like I said, we are talking hundreds of millions of dollars here, so they'll use any tactic they can to try to beat each other, and they should really. Hello, sorry I'm late. Hello, Renolan. Hope you're having a good week. Absolutely no worries being late. Max, Bottas, Perez, Leclerc, Gasly, Hamilton, DNF. Well, that would be the end of the season. That would definitely be the end of the season. Track position seems key here. Start is going to be important. I don't see a lot of overtaking spots. No, and quite importantly, actually, it's not the longest run to turn 1, really. I was hoping it'd be more down here. Maybe about here-ish, where they'd have the start line, because it's a pretty decent long straight, but they've decided not to do that and have a bit of a shorter run instead, which, could be just as interesting. Maybe less chance of a slipstream, but it does make pole much more important, definitely. And I think this is probably one of the most important qualifying sessions for a while, definitely. Whoever's on pole here is going to do pretty well for themselves. Does Qatar have gravel traps? I can't say there's a lot. I'm not 100% certain, but from what I've seen, I don't think there's a lot of gravel trap. What's my opinion on sprint formats? Do you prefer them to standard qualifying? Right, so I was at Silverstone this year. For me, the weekend was a lot more enjoyable having qualifying Friday, sprint race to look forward to Saturday, and main race to look forward to Sunday. So I think it's a system that works a lot better for fans at the track, definitely, because everything seems a lot more important. There was a lot more buzz, and the atmosphere was a lot better because there's more fans there as well to watch qualifying on the Friday. There's normally loads of fans on a Friday at Silverstone, but there was even more. So I like that element of it. Definitely. I was a big fan of that. Lots of runoff. I think there's a lot of runoff. Yeah, you're going to do well to put it in a wall here. Japan should have been chosen over Qatar. Yeah, the issue is with Japan, though. They're still really strict on their COVID regulations. So I think that's the main issue with Japan, really. We saw a lot of protests when they were holding the Olympics. So and that was, very well thought out and actually completely out of the social life in Tokyo. I wish we still had Singapore Grand Prix this year. Quality is amazing. I do love Singapore. It's not one of the most interesting races in the world, but it's up there with tracks that I can just sort of sit there and watch happily. It just looks good to watch. Looks like Max track. Yeah, potentially could be. Like I said, I think Sector 1 is going to be Mercedes. Sector 2, Red Bull. Sector 3 could be fairly even overall. Sorry if I'm missing anything in chat. If I do miss what you say, just write it again and I'll see it. Lewis, Max, Leclerc, Sainz, and Ricciardo. Wow, that's an interesting... I assume Bottas and Perez come to blows in your prediction, Ali. What are we seeing in the chat? Lots of... Yeah. Oh, yes, thank you. Oh, yeah, hello, George. Sorry, I didn't actually read who that was from. Hi, George. Hope you're having a good day. Max, Perez, Sainz, Bottas, and Leclerc. Hamilton DNF with an engine failure. So you're sort of predicting that the Mercedes maybe being a little bit more... happy to take a little bit more risk on the engine. Because, of course, they're the hunters at the moment. You're saying that will come back to bite them. I'd like to see Perez take an entirely new unit in order to sacrifice Qatar so he beats Hamilton, Abu Dhabi and Saudi. Yeah, but like we've said before, the new Red Bull units don't have as much of an advantage, and the gap from Hamilton to Perez this year has been pretty big at a lot of tracks. I don't think it'd be enough to counteract. What we see, Mercedes is trying for a penalty to get back in the race for a little, not second place. Yeah. Is Saudi Arabia ready yet? Or they're still building the track, Roland. They said they're going to work 24/7, and it's on a bit of a knife edge at the moment. But I think they'll have the critical infrastructure in place, the stuff that they actually need for the Grand Prix. I think that'll all be there. Is Saudi Arabia? I've read that one. Now, Sector 3 Max as well. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure Sector 3 is going to be a strong Max section. I think 12, 13, 14, because you have to bear in mind, Mercedes aren't that poor in fast corners. They're pretty good there. It's more the slow corners that they really struggle, which is why I think Sector 2 is going to be a bit more comfortable for Red Bull, and then Sector 3, maybe by like half a tenth Red Bull have it, but for all intensive purposes, it's going to be quite equal. Track temp could play a big role in DNF, potentially. 2 races 100% will blow the engine. Well, yeah, they're not going to be running it at 100% fully. They're just running it probably a little bit more than normal. But yeah, again, look, I stress this. Gasly was top of the speed traps in Brazil, so that Honda engine can be run at a really good speed if they want to, and it's not a slow engine at all. And again, you have to bear in mind as well, Mercedes was set up for straight line speed. They were set up to be able to overtake in Brazil. Mercedes even said the engines are not as reliable, yet they're not, and they wear a lot quicker than the others. Leclerc is better than Sainz. Leclerc maximise in races much better than Sainz. Yeah, but equally Sainz has done pretty well against him as well so far this season. I think they're fairly close. Maybe Leclerc does have the slight edge, but they're pretty close. Either one of them can beat each other on a given weekend. I think Red Bull are actually strong this season, as we saw in Brazil. How much time Hamilton took to pass Verstappen, even with a new engine. Yeah, look, they're strong in a straight line. Let's not forget that. Red Bull were running higher wings. They were more set up for the race. Hamilton was purely set up to overtake people. I think, what was that? They could do an off-road section in Saudi, would spice up the decider. Yeah, we're going to drift through Sector 3. I would be all for that. That would be very fun. Yeah, Sector 3 maybe 50-50. Yeah, maybe like 45-55 if we really want to be like too pedantic about it. I think it'll be pretty close though. Pretty close overall. McLaren on this track might be good because of the straights. Yeah, I think Saudi's probably going to be one of their better tracks. So I think that might be their last gasp chance at a shock podium if something a bit dramatic happens. But I think Ferrari quite comfortably will... As much as it pains me to say, I think Ferrari probably have P3 in the Constructors pretty much sealed now, as a McLaren fan. Not that I hate Ferrari that much, it's, as a McLaren fan, I'd rather they get P3. Maybe Red Bull just turn their engines down. No, I don't think they'd just turn their engine down. I think they were just running slightly higher wing and just... Because they were really strong in Sector 2. Like, stronger than normal through slow speed corners. So, I think both of them went to the extremes of where they're more powerful in the hope that it would be enough to win the race. Hamilton was following Dirty Air of Max's car pretty well for a long time. I was surprised. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a testament to show, really, that Mercedes was quick. That was a very quick car, and he did very well in it. Schumacher to win, calling it. That would be a dramatic race. Leclerc is very good, but considering this is Sainz's first season Ferrari, he's doing a very good job. Yeah, that's sort of where I'm coming from. It's I think they're... Any given day, either of them can beat each other. They're both very, very good drivers. Ferrari probably have one of the best lineups on the grid with that, to be honest. Not the best, but definitely up there. If Saudi Grand Prix goes ahead, I think it could be chaos. It absolutely could be. The walls are so close through fast corners as well. That's really surprised me. We could see a couple of pretty painful accidents. I've watched some sim laps of Saudi and it looks like a death trap. Right, yeah, there we go. That's the point I was effectively just making. Talk about Jeddah. Well, we can a little bit. We are talking a little bit about Jeddah. When is the hearing for the penalty? Right, I'll bring that back up. Here we go. Oh, wrong tab. There we go. So the hearing is at 5 o'clock local time in Qatar. So 2 o'clock UK time in the afternoon. But this is just the hearing for the right of review rather than... rather than it actually coming to a verdict. This is just whether they'll decide to investigate it or not. I feel like next year it's going to be Mercedes, Ferrari and McLaren battle for championship just because Red Bull have pushed the development this year's car so much and need to develop next year. They have put a lot into this year, but Adrian Newey time and time again has proven an absolute genius on the design aspect, so they're still going to do really well. They might fall away a little bit, but I doubt it, to be fair. I think they'll be right up there. Ham can be slow in Saudi. They were slow in street circuits. Yeah, but Saudi's not really a street circuit for all intensive purposes. It is a very fast track, Saudi. Very fast. To be fair, I'm a bit interested about how Haas will do next year, if it has actually paid off to focus on a 2022 car. Yeah, you know, Haas have proven, I feel like this year has sort of made us forget that Haas can absolutely build a good car. They proved that several times. They can build a solid car. My only issue is I'm not sure their drivers are particularly up to it. Mick Schumacher is an okay driver, but he's nothing particularly special. And Mazepin, yeah. Red Bull needs engine. Their mechanical department is top notch. Yeah, it absolutely is. You know, they've got a fantastic chassis. Yep, now that Valtteri is in the Alpha, Ferrari has a great backup just in case. Yeah, exactly. You know, if one of them miss a race, for example, they can just sort of bring in Bottas, and you know he can be a solid number 2. Whether he'll want to be a solid number 2 again is a different question potentially. But do you think Red Bull will take a penalty this weekend? I don't think Red Bull are going to want to take a penalty anywhere. Not here. It's going to be harder to overtake. I reckon if they do one, it'll be at a track they're already going to lose out, like Saudi. Where it's going to still be possible to overtake and put them in good contention for the last race. If they do. I don't think they will, though. If your tyre blows at Saudi Grand Prix and those sweepy corners, it's game over. Yeah, that could be... That would be a very heavy one. Hello, Ryan. Toto will be sat next to Horner in the press conference. Oh, that'd be a good laugh. They don't televise the press conferences anyway, do they? That really annoys me. I'd love to watch... I'd rather them than a driver conference, to be honest. Saudi is a very fast track, but Mercedes need open air from every side to run at optimum level. Yeah, I suppose to an extent. It's going to be pretty cool, though. It's not going to be a a particularly hot race. Imagine if Haas just comes into season and their cars are great, and then they get a top 5 in constructors. It's perfectly possible. I think it's more likely that they'll have a top 5 car, but finish 6th or 7th overall because of their drivers. Although the car this year does look absolutely horrendous to drive, it must be that thing looks like, yeah, I would not want to drive it. Let's put it that way. What do you think of the signing of Zhou to Alpha? For me, I think he's an okay driver. He's not. I don't think particularly going to do too much special in F1. He's an okay F2 driver. He's in his 3rd season at the moment, competing against a grid that's okay. It's sort of hard to gauge, really. Toto's reaction was so good when Lewis took Max. Yeah, I'm loving the reaction memes that we've got from Toto this weekend. After just watching a hot lap of the Saudi Grand Prix on F1 2021, it looks really dangerous. How did that pass? Yeah, I thought that when watching it. There's so many quick corners, no runoff really, apart from into the heavy braking zones. It was a slightly scary one. Hamilton took new engine in Istanbul, and the next race Grand Prix they were slow. I think Qatar has only one long straight. It does, yeah. It has only the one long straight. I'll bring up the track map again. I feel like it's a good one to sort of leave it on for people coming in. There we go. This is going to annoy me. There, brilliant. Oh, gone. There we go. So yeah, Haas to pull a Brawn. That'd be exciting. That'd be a real shock. I missed the driver briefings they did back in 2017. It looked like an episode from The Office. Yeah, they were fun. I did like those. Russell v Hamilton v Verstappen will be another 2008 Hamilton Alonso Raikkonen situation. Yeah, that'd be pretty exciting as well. I just want it to be hopefully next year. The grid's a bit closer on race pace. I think that's the main one for me. Because in qualifying, the grid's sort of closed in a little bit more in recent years. But in the race, they're still a 1.5 seconds a lap slower. It's ridiculous. So I hope really race pace can just close in a little bit. That'd be nice to see. Because imagine how much better the races would have been this year if the front runners couldn't just drive off into distance and make their pit stop and still come out like P5 and only have to pass one car. If they were stuck in a proper midfield battle, that'd be brilliant to watch. No one would want to blink first and pit, and you can end up with some really, really messed up results. And that'd just be really fun. I really hope that happens. Definitely want more than 2 drivers challenging for a title. Yeah, it's been so long since we've had more than 2 really in the title fight. I mean, even now, look, we've got 3 races. Well, we had 4 races left, and Bottas was mathematically out of it, and he's P3 with 4 races left. So, yeah, not ideal. Even if Hamilton wins the championship, which is entirely possible, still amazing to think a 23-year-old given a 7-time world champion. That's an amazing challenge. I think people forget that at times. It is, but I feel like it's still also important to remember Max is in his 7th season. He came in so young, and the stuff that he did at his age was remarkable. And he still sort of continues to do that. But like, it's not like he's like a young gun really anymore. Like he is in his 7th season still. Saudi first hander is going to be a Daniel Ricciardo corner. I can already see it. If Mercedes treat Hamilton's engine like the 80s, do you think he will take further penalties? No, I don't think he'll want to take any more penalties anywhere. Maybe at Saudi, just to be sure that they could have a really fit engine for the last race in Abu Dhabi, because Saudi should be fairly comfortable to overtake at in places using slipstream, and then you just have to sort of pray from that point. Maybe we need to go back to the old point system. I would like to see the old point system implemented in slightly longer sprint races. I think that's the best thing for me. I'd like to see aim for about 45-minute sprint races that don't set the grid on Sunday and have a point system of 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 again. That would be my personal choice. F1 engines normally last about 7 races, hence 3 allowed per season. Well, they don't. That's sort of the issue. They tend to last less than that, which is why I find it so shocking that they've gone with as many races and only three units. Do you think Max has a chance looking back at the unexplainable speed of the Merc? Well, I think the speed from Mercedes is explainable. They were running much lower downforce, the Red Bull were. The new engine definitely helped a little bit, but it wasn't the most important thing in the world. But that car was set up to overtake. That car was set up with straight line speed in mind, being able to get alongside and get the move done. That was the point of that car. Did Verstappen get a penalty? Well, that's what we're waiting on tomorrow to find out. What do you think would have happened if Max's car was okay in Silverstone and Hungary? That's a good question. I think there'd be no question at all about another power unit, and he'd be comfortably leading the championship, mathematically speaking. Whom are you supporting, Max or Lewis? For me, I'm not particularly fussed which one wins the championship. I just want it to go down to the last race. So I guess for the next 2 races, I'm supporting Lewis, so it goes into the last race even on points, but that's not because of him. It's more just because I just want it to be as dramatic as possible, really, and make it the best watch. They really need to sort those ICE penalties out in the winter. Those 5-place grid penalty drops are ridiculous. Yeah, and I think they've got it the wrong way round as well, really. You get a 10-place drop for the first one, and then you get less for the others, for all of the ones up. I think it should be the other way around. It should be 5 for the first time, and then more afterwards. I find that really weird. I still remember back when there was like 300 laps, the good old days. What do you think would have happened if Max car? Who am I supporting? Okay, I've read all those. That's all cool. All caught up. So yeah, we've got the Guan Yu Zhou news. So yeah, that'd be interesting for him. I don't think I fully answered that question before about Zhou at Alpha. So that's all confirmed now. Giovinazzi going to Formula E with Dragon. That'll be interesting to watch. I do like a bit of Formula E up the Sandbird, but yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Remove the fuel flow limit for the last 3 races. Let the teams burn however much they like. Now that would be fun, and I think get out of hand quite quickly. But it would be quite funny. Imagine in Abu Dhabi they are second apart the entire race and go around the last corner side by side. That's exactly what I want. That is exactly what I want. I want them even on points going into the last race, or like a situation where whoever wins, basically winner gets all. I want that situation. I won't be surprised if Mercedes have an engine failure at Saudi Grand Prix. It's almost full revs during the whole lap. Yeah, but like, I feel like to an extent we're sort of sensationalising. Everyone is. The Mercedes unreliability. Of course, we saw Ricciardo retire, but they have a lot of engines on that grid, and they it doesn't go pop too often. They tend to do all right at catching any issues before it happens. Wonder how Albon will perform with the new rules next year. That'll be interesting as well, because obviously we're gonna have a situation where drivers adapt to the rules better than others. That's gonna be a really big thing. And that's maybe where experience can come in, or if you're a rookie driver, you're starting with a level pegging, really. Man, I'm going to the Abu Dhabi race. I really hope it's not decided in Lewis's favour by then. I'm a big Max Verstappen fan, and that would suck. Look, yeah, mathematically speaking, I don't think it's even... It's not... Is it even possible to be decided by then? I'm trying to do quick maths in my head. 20... no, I think it would be. If Max retires from both and Lewis wins both, he would be able to get it, actually. Hamilton took out a very big life out of his engine in Brazil. Potentially, but again, look, we don't really know how hard they were running it. Obviously, they were going to be running it harder than normal, but, you know, they're not stupid. They'd have gone a realistic amount where they can make the rest of the season. I know Verstappen and Hamilton haven't seen eye to eye a lot this season, but I hope no matter who wins, there is respect and good sportsmanship just feels right after the season we've had so far. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I do want a bit of drama. You know, coming into the last race, I do want them, you know, just a little bit of a go at each other. A little bit of arguing in the press, but, you know, at the end of the day, it should be kept as respectful as possible, really. Do the quali like cycling, one-on-one opposite side of the track. First driver to get within DRS wins a duel. That'd be quite fun, actually. I do like that format of cycling as well. I still think that Max makes that Red Bull car look better than it really is. Lewis and Max seem to get every ounce of performance out of those cars. Yeah, I think they both do this season. Lewis has made some mistakes, and Max has had some bad luck. So, yeah, to be honest, I think they've both done a really good job. They get the performance they can out of the cars, and that's proof by how much they're beating their teammates by. They're really doing well. Honestly, this season's already been good, and whoever wins deserves it, but I would like to see next year just because of how close they say it will be, so we could see more full send into turn 1. Drive to Survive is going to be very good. Yeah, Drive to Survive should be pretty interesting this year, or next year, I suppose. This season's Drive to Survive. I mean, after the championship is over, I want in the race, I want them literally as aggressive. Oh, okay, fair enough. I know, yeah. Make it as dramatic as we possibly can, just until it's decided. Really, that's all I want. Perez has one job in the next race: start, and potentially some wider-reaching disqualifications. So we did have that debate before. Really, what would they do in that situation? Because it's a pretty interesting one to look at. It's going to be another Schumacher Hill or Villeneuve with the I love how we have to put 2 in after that. Decided by a crash in the first corner of the last race. Potentially indeed. They're both of them are going to want to be ahead into turn 1 at Abu Dhabi, but could get a bit tasty, definitely. If cars can follow each other next year, then we need the old Hockenheim back. I so wish that cars can follow next year. That is my one hope. I'd be gutted if we have another, because I do sort of fear a little bit that the FIA haven't fully understood these regulations that they've put forward, because the performance predictions are miles off at the moment. So if they take each other out in Abu Dhabi, if they are equal on points, anyone know what would happen? Verstappen would win because he has the most wins on countback over the course of the season. I'm going to ask right now, just while people are here, if you could, if you're not subscribed to the channel and you're enjoying the stream or would like more of F1 news when I'm covering it, because I will do some live coverage over the weekend. If you could just hit the subscribe button, that would mean the absolute world to me, because I like it when that little number in the bottom left goes up. It makes me smile. So if you could do that, it'd mean the absolute world. But let's get back to the chat. I want Lewis to win because I'm a Hamilton fan. Well, yeah, fair enough. And personally don't like Red Bull. Because Horner and Max are salty when they don't win. So yeah, they haven't had a great season PR wise, I don't think. Can we talk about how Ocon won an F1 race during the most dramatic title? Yeah, that was crazy. The fact that we've had the only team to have a 1-2 this year has been McLaren, which is a mental stat. I think we are overrating Russell. He's a very good driver, but driving for a title contender comes with a lot of pressure. Yeah, that's what I mean. I think first year Hamilton will outscore him, but then, if Lewis retires or gives it one more year, I think it could be a bit closer. Shout out for Norris in Belgian qualifying, bravest driver I've seen for years. Yeah, I was absolutely gutted. The second they started that session as well, I was like, that is too wet. They should not be doing that. And then Obviously, Lando making a little bit of a mistake paired with how wet the track was resulted in tears basically. According to Toto, he wouldn't put it past either Max nor Lewis that they would crash. Yeah, I've seen those quotes as well. That they crash each other out in the last race. And you know, at the end of the day, if you're side by side with your rival and you think you're about to get past, what else do you do? that's sort of the yeah. You know, when you can see everything you've worked towards over the course of the year just sort of disappearing right in front of you. You know, it's not right if you do crash someone out. It's absolutely not, and you'll be disqualified from the championship. But it's definitely possible to happen for sure. But yes, isn't that disqualification of championship? Yeah, it would be. Yeah, if you deliberately crash someone out, you'll get disqualified, and probably get banned as well. Coming into the next season, you cannot use your car as a weapon. What if Ham and Max DNF each other at Abu Dhabi, having equal points? Then again, it's just count back. It would go to count back, so whichever one has won more races, which is Max, and because he's won 4 more than Lewis at the moment, on count back, it is impossible with 3 races left for Lewis to be ahead on the win count. So if they're even on points, which is mathematically impossible unless they crash each other out, then yeah. Should London get a street track? I mean, given I live in the UK, and actually at the moment, because I'm at uni, I'm actually really close to London as well, I'm going to say yes, simply because I want to go to it. Whether it'd be a great race or not, completely different question. If you were to swap a Grand Prix on next year's calendar, what track would you swap it with? For me, so for this, I want to bring up the actual 2022 calendar to sort of to give a proper look at this. I would say, I don't know. Maybe I don't know because I don't want to judge Miami before it happens either. I don't mind next year's calendar too much really. There's not. For me, there's maybe Imola. But you see, the difficult question is as well with the new regulations. All of the tracks that don't really work at the moment could end up working really well next year. Maybe Sochi. Maybe swap Sochi out for Malaysia. Something along those lines. I reckon. If I had to. I don't know, I'm pretty happy with the calendar overall though. Okay, right, where was I? Max has had so much bad luck, surely Lewis should have some bad luck soon. Lewis has created his own bad luck at a couple of races. Diving up the inside of George at Imola on the wet bit of track because George refused to take the inside line. He stayed on the dry line. So there's a bit of a mistake. Where in London? I'm north of London, so... Oh, wait, you mean the Grand Prix? I think it's meant to be on the Royal Docks. I think that's the idea that's been floated around most recently. Max should have won Baku and probably Silverstone. He's been very unlucky. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, Max has lost out more points through... Well, he's lost out more points through whatever reason than Hamilton has over the course of the year, so... Is it 3 or 4? I don't know if it is 3 or 4. I'm going to have to quick check. 2022. Oh no, 2021, aren't we? F1. There we go. I don't know what I'm googling. And with a microphone in the way as well. This is interesting. So how many? All right, that's not the championship. Google, you're not being useful here. I'm not going to count either. But anyway, I don't think we've got a situation where it's going to come down to that anyway. Oh, wait, yes. Well, the only way it could go to count back is if if neither of them win the last race. So that wouldn't be a situation that would happen anyway. Because if Max even is 3 ahead, there's only 2 races left then where they'd be equal on points where count back would matter, so... I love how iconic Monaco is as a track, but genuinely was the most boring race this year. Wouldn't be opposed to see it being swapped out. Yeah, I don't know. The Monaco's a race I could just sort of watch. It's a boring race, but I could just sort of watch it. I could just watch the cars drive around for hours and be happy enough, really. Catalonia out. Yeah, Catalonia's not a fantastic track. Yeah, that's probably a fair one as well. Prob's already asked, but predictions for World Drivers' Championship and Constructors' title. I'd say for me, honestly, I think it's still going to be a Max win because the odds are still in his favour. But I think Mercedes will still win the Constructors, probably. Isn't Sochi going to be swapped out for another Russian Grand Prix? Yeah, I think the St. Petersburg one, but I don't think that's next year. I think it's the year after. Monaco is rubbish. Maybe have 2 sprint races there instead of 1 full Grand Prix. No, you'd still have just 2 rubbish sprint races then. Max is 9, I think. Or is 8 or 9 wins? It's one of the 2. Monaco's duel in the F1 season. Yeah, it is. You know, I could just watch them drive around Monza Monza? What am I about? Monaco pretty happily. If you had the opportunity to drive a race circuit, where would you drive? Oh, that's hard. I do Silverstone because for me it's so iconic. But for fun, I'd say probably Portimao. Just because of the elevation changes. But if someone said to me, here you go, have a F1 car, you can do a couple of laps, I'd just do Silverstone because I've watched people drive it so many times, but never been on it myself. If you had the option... Oh, yeah, I've read that one. India track? Yeah. I don't know. I think the Bud circuit wasn't great. I'd like to see a different one, probably. My favourite is Spa. Yeah, Spa's a great track as well. Spa would be a fun one. I'd love to experience the forces up Eau Rouge. That'd be... I don't think I could handle it, but it would be quite fun. Max can actually beat the most podiums of the season record, which is crazy. Yeah, it is. He's been mad consistent this year. When he's finished a race, he's been right up there. So, F1 should have a hill climb event with sprint race points mid-season. Yeah, I'd like to see a spec race somewhere as well. Just sort of every year at one track have a special spec race that, just goes just a little bit exciting, really. Right. Okay, so I think we do have some articles to look at that might have been published on the FIA website, but I'm going to have to give them a read. Okay, I haven't, but there's been some... One second, I'm going to have to quickly read this. Okay, so we have some of the right to review evidence out. So I'm going to quickly boot up Jenny Gow's Twitter on here, because she's put up some of the documents. So here we go. So F1 update. We've got, in accordance with Article 14 of the International Sporting Code and following the petition for review by Mercedes MG F1 team, a team manager and such witnesses as the competitor may request up to 3 are required to appear via video conference. So, to determine whether a significant and relevant news element is discovered, which there is, because we have the onboard footage, which the stewards didn't have access to before. Okay, so that's just that. And then there's another one as well. Is this exactly the same? Is that exactly the same? 2110. Oh, no, it's not exactly the same. What's this one? Is this telling the time? Okay, yeah, this is just one telling the time. Okay, so there's nothing too new there. Nothing too new. I thought that was good. I thought it was gonna be more dramatic. F1 Trevor Hill Climb event. Yep, maybe a bit random, but Tsunoda started off the season shockingly, but feel he's improved. He's also great. He's a good defensive driver, but his attack on Stroll, whereas it was a literal attack. It was an assault on Stroll in the race. Was a bit of an odd one. Why not Dutch GP? Those slopes are dope. Yeah, they look pretty fun as well. But Portimao is a lot more extreme. I feel like that'd just be quite fun. The Bathurst circuit is a blast. Yeah. That looks like a really fun track to go on as well, and probably a more realistic one. I was saying to a work colleague that they should make Turkey a permanent fixture in the F1 season because it's so iconic and, in my opinion, has great racing. Really. Yeah, I enjoy the Turkey races. They are pretty good. But the thing is, hopefully all the races next year are just going to be a bit better. Like, the actual quality, the actual product quality we're going to get is going to be a bit better because overtaking should be a lot easier. No, Stroll turned in on it. I don't know, really. I mean, Stroll did turn in, but he really wasn't expecting a dive bomb, so he wouldn't have checked his mirrors there. I wouldn't have been expecting a dive bomb, definitely. If I was doing a league race there, the last thing I'd have expected was someone to dive from that far back. What was my favourite race? Of the season, I've got to go with Silverstone just because I was there and the drama. Because I was sitting at Woodcut, so right near Copse where Hamilton and Verstappen came to blows as well, so I've got to say that. I have some good videos on the channel, actually, of that when the stream ends. I'd, recommend you go look at those. I live in Turkey, I agree completely. Yeah, it would be fun to have it back. For the record, most podiums this season is 17. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right. Belgium should have been cancelled or run on the Monday. Said, yeah, I'm so surprised F1 doesn't have a designated weather day for things like that, or if the race has to be cancelled for any reason. That does surprise me. That's not a thing. If Lewis wins his last 3 races, he'll have the same amount of wins as Max. Yes, but he'll also win the championship as well, so the count back doesn't matter. Snowden's move I thought was okay, shouldn't have penalised him. I think it was a bit ambitious. Definitely. I wouldn't have tried that move, but I'm not an F1 driver, so. Didn't Stroll have to retire in Brazil? If he did, was it because of the damage caused by Tsunoda, or was it something else? I'm going to assume it was the damage caused with the car and the fact that their race wasn't really going to go anywhere because his side pod and floor was decimated on contact. So I think that's one of those. We'll just bring it back. We've got a race next week. Try to get the car repaired. But yes, it's. I think we'll keep going for a couple more ways. But is there anything else that anyone really wants to discuss as like a main topic? I feel like we've covered a lot of the main sort of news. Now it's just sort of anything else that anyone thinks is worth a mention, really. I'm just going to quickly check Twitter to see if there's any sort of news going on at the moment. I've got about 5 texts as well from different people. That'll be fun to read once we end. Oh yeah, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's at VSG_beacon. I think that's if you ever want to message me out of stream time or anything along those lines, I think that's the best way to go about it. Vettel saying that he will touch Hamilton's front wing and maybe it'll be a 25 grand kill. That was very funny. That was brilliant. I've always said that with Seb. When Seb isn't winning races, his comedy is absolutely on point. He's probably one of the most likable drivers when he's not winning races. How about Portuguese Grand Prix? I think it's a great circuit. Do you think Max will force a collision if he won the title doing so? He could, out of sheer desperation, but he'd also get disqualified from the championship, I imagine, if he's at fault. So he wouldn't. I don't think he'd get to keep the crown if he did so. I think Mercedes overreacted against the penalty they got. I can see the complaint that they had because other teams have been allowed to change parts before, so I can see where they're coming from. But equally, I still think I'm going to use the pun again. It was a pretty open and shut case with regards to DRS, because it was too big. That's the thing. And yes, some teams have been allowed to repair and replace before, but. I don't know. I think it was pretty much fair. But I can see why they're annoyed as well. I can, and when you're in such a tight championship battle, I'd be concerned if they weren't annoyed. It'd be more telling if they didn't seem to care. I think it should be a regular track. What do you think? I'd like to see Portugal regularly on the calendar. Pretty good race. Right. I think about Seb is fantastic, checking on Lando Spa. Yeah, that was nice. And just his humour. He's such a great driver. A lot of drivers could learn a lot from him. I can see Vin Diesel being involved to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. That'd be a bit fun. But yeah, so I'll be doing some. If we're expecting a verdict on Verstappen at any point, like if we get some news that they've been in the stewards, I might go live for about an hour while we wait for a verdict. That's likely to be, I imagine, either late Thursday or Friday. So either way, I might be able to cover it a little bit. I'm going home for the weekend, so I'll still continue some of the streams and any breaking news. But there might be times when I'm, driving in a car. So obviously I can't quite live stream doing that, unless I would like to be using prison Wi-Fi from now on. If Verstappen gets a 5-second penalty, will that place him behind Bottas and award him P3? Yes, it will. He'll get P3 with a 5-second penalty. But as I've explained right near the start of the stream, mathematically it doesn't make a lot of difference in the Drivers' Championships because we can expect Hamilton and Verstappen to come either first or second in the next couple of races. So it doesn't make a massive difference on that front. So it's not the most important thing in the world, but I might just cover it anyway. The real thing will be if it's a grid penalty. I don't think it should be a grid penalty, and there's no precedent for it to be a grid penalty, nor reason, I imagine, for there to be a grid penalty. But you never know. Sometimes the FIA do spring a little bit of a surprise on this. I think McLaren will be very good in Abu Dhabi. Yeah, Lando put in a fantastic lap. I genuinely believe, had Lando had the Mercedes engine last year, he would have been on pole. He was only 0.2 off pole in that McLaren. I really, really do think he'd have got pole. Not so good at multitasking. Not quite. I think the streams are proving that really well so far. They shouldn't penalise him for the Brazil Grand Prix and instead give a grid penalty for the next race since the Brazil Grand Prix is already over. I mean, yeah, but the incident is related to the Grand Prix itself, and since none of them retired, I don't think it should be a grid penalty. Based on past decisions, I don't think it should be. But yeah. Now I have a commentary, and I say this every night. I have a commentary a little bit later on. So I sort of need to be on for about 22 for that, so I'll keep going a little bit. How did I get into F1? When I was, oh god, this is going back. I remember it was my brother's birthday, my younger brother's birthday party. And my dad was watching 2008 Brazil, so I'd have been 7 or 6. I think I'd have just gone 6. And we were watching the end, and that, I remember that is that Glock. That's like one of my earliest memories, and then since then I don't think I've really missed an F1 race. But then I properly got into it by watching old season reviews. So like the 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9 season reviews, I probably have as like photographic memory in my mind. So it's a bit fun. I think it was just a racing incident in Brazil, and Verstappen took away too much speed into the corner as he was fighting Lewis. Yeah, but at the end of the day, that's driver error, so that's what Mercedes' argument's going to be. What if Bottas comes second? It helps with the constructors' standings for sure. It's a 6-point swing there. But for the drivers, mathematically, it doesn't really make a big difference. If Bottas comes second this weekend as well, it still doesn't make a big... If it's Hamilton first, Bottas second, Verstappen third, we're in the exact same position, basically, where whoever wins the last race is going to win the championship, assuming that Hamilton wins in Saudi. If they give Max a 5-sec penalty, they should give it from the time the incident occurred, since that time Max was more... No, they wouldn't give it from the time it occurred. It'd be added on at the end of the race, like they do normally. They'd do. Although Red Bull can make the argument that they stopped pushing to keep the 5-second gap because there was no investigation necessary. So, Red Bull have a bit of an argument as well. Oh wait, what's it? Do I race, even if it's just for fun, or are you in any competitive racing? I did some competitive karting when I was younger, but it is so expensive, and unless you're like the absolute best, there's really no point going on with it. So, that wasn't something that I decided to pursue going forward. Really, more looking at I still kart for fun, but the local karting track near me, it was an indoor track. Through the pandemic, has had to close because of course they couldn't really be open at all. So that's a bit of a shame. So I don't think I've been karting for a good year and a half now since COVID started. So that's pretty rough. But I'm definitely going to because I've got some quite a few uni people who are into karting. So I definitely and some competitive racing. I do Formula Student as well, which is at least Formula Student UK what I'm entered in. So we do quite a bit of that. So we're working on a 4-wheel drive electric car at the moment, which is quite fun. I'll try to get onto the Formula Student broadcast and plug the channel after Silverstone next year. Right, okay. are we good? Are we good to go? So I just want to say, I'll keep. I'll probably have to go in a minute. So like I say, if you're not subscribed to the channel, it would mean the absolute world to me if you could. Even if you never watch any of these videos or live streams ever again, it would just be absolutely amazing if you could make that little number go up, because we are getting there to 700, and that'd be great. We're slowly on the road to 1,000, but for now, small steps. We're getting to 700, and that would be absolutely amazing if you could subscribe. If you're not already, that would be absolutely brilliant. And we're going to be bringing a lot more F1 news throughout the rest of the season. The goal is to hopefully be at about 1K by the end of the season. That would be absolutely amazing. But yeah, so basically any F1 news that comes up, we'll be trying to cover on this channel as much as possible. And just sort of talk to everyone in the chat as much as possible. So we've got I miss karting. COVID just killed the vibe. I remember going karting, paintballing, and actually being out with my friends. Yeah, that was That was basically the same situation as me. I went karting at least like once or twice a month with one of my friends who also did karting, and I just haven't since at all. So that's a real shame. But yeah, I wish I still could. 700 before season ends. Yeah. 700 is more realistic, but all it needs is another stream where we got to like 1K viewers before and gained about 450 subs in that stream. So we just need another one of those, really. But yeah, so I'm gonna be commentating on it's Team Shazoo on Twitch. I'm gonna be commentating that race. It's a F1 esports race basically. With the top people on the Xbox platform, and there's like a 1K prize as well for the winner. So, I think we're on to round 3 of the season now. Don't even know what track it's at. Should probably know that. I'm gonna miss these last races. I have my exams coming up. Oh, that is so rough. That's yeah, that's not good. Qatar is into the unknown. It absolutely is. We could be expecting anything really. And that's sort of the magic of it. And we've said going into races so many times, oh, this is going to be a Mercedes track. Oh, this is going to be a Red Bull track. And it just hasn't been. So, really anything could happen. And that's the beauty of this season. We just don't know what's coming at the next turn. So I think it's about time we do end, because I have got to... So like I say, if you fancy watching me do a commentary, because I do a lot of commentary and broadcasting on the side... it's going to be on the Team Shazoo Twitch account. If any of you have Twitch or are into watching some of the esports stuff, I'll be commentating on there. That'll be in about 15 minutes or so that could be quite exciting. It's always great racing, so... I think we're good to end off then. So massive thank you to everyone for being here for the stream. This is a midweek stream with no real big news going on, so it's absolutely crazy. I think we peaked at over 100 during that stream. So for something as this is just me talking basically. This isn't even breaking news. So that's absolutely mental to see that so many people are interested. So yeah, that's amazing. I like how unbiased you are, refreshing. Yeah, I try to keep it as unbiased as possible. Because that does annoy me when people are very clearly speaking. They're giving categorical points based on who they like the most, and it's quite clear sometimes. That does annoy me quite a bit. It's okay though. I won't be unbiased when Lando wins a race. The stream title will be Lando Norris wins. We're gonna have his face on every part of the screen. That's the thing. I followed him since karting. Since I watched him race karting. I think it's at Wilton Mill. Years back now. So the second that little kid that I was watching, he's older than me. I can't call him a little kid. Um, yeah, the fact that he could ever win an F1 race is absolutely mental. So I won't be unbiased then, but throughout the rest of the season, I'll try to be as unbiased as possible. Cheers, man. What's Twitch? I'll be there. I'll put the Twitch here. I think it's just Team Shazoo is the Twitch for my commentary later. I think you also get to see my beautiful face in that. To be honest, I don't on this because I can't fit it into that screen anywhere. And because I'm typically either eating food halfway through while reading the chat or drinking, so... so Team Shazoo is the Twitch, my commentary later. So I'll just put Team Shazoo. I think that's it. There may be an underscore in between. But I'll be live on there. And I get to wear a fancy shirt as well, so I'm happy. Yeah, so there we go. I think that rounds off the stream. We've covered a lot today. And I might do some stuff on Friday if there's any sort of breaking news or anything shocking that happens. But obviously we've only got 2 practice sessions on Friday, so it's nothing to... Yeah, talk about Lando when he was bringing back Russia vibes. I did not enjoy Russia. I don't think I'd have been able to stream after the Russia race. Or if I did, it would have just been me crying, so... But yeah, okay, I'm actually going to round off. I'm so bad at ending streams. I get on a tangent again. But yes, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back live at some point over the weekend, absolutely. So if you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you can see whenever there's some F1 breaking news that we'll be covering. It saves you refreshing Twitter. So, yeah, there we go. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you all have a good week. See you at the weekend. Goodbye. Okay, fine. Predictions for race. I'll do that now. Predictions for race. Very quickly, just because Ryan got it in before I said goodbye. Prediction for race, I'm going to go Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas. Good night.